Hey guys, Cody here with Import Image Racing. Thanks for checking out another video. Today we're going to be installing the BilletWorkz short shifter into our 2022 BRZ. Now the BilletWorkz short shifter is a 30% shorter throw than stock, where the STI short shifter that is an OEM option for the car is only about 12% shorter than stock. So this is a pretty simple install. It's going to look a little bit complicated, but trust me, it's really not hard at all. We're going to walk you through the entire process step by step. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and lift the car up. We don't need to get underneath the car just yet, but we will eventually, so I'm going to lift it up a while. All right, so we're going to get right into it. On the side of your center console, you're going to see two of these covers, one on this side and one on the other side. We're going to go ahead and pop that off, and there's going to be a 10mm bolt or a Phillips head underneath. After you have that one out, go ahead and get the one on the other side. So now we're going to come up to the front here, and you're going to see underneath these toggle switches, there's this little black panel here. We're going to go ahead and remove that. I'm using a little piece of masking tape just to help protect the dash. I would recommend using a plastic pry tool. I'm using a metal one, but that's all I have at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and get this one side lifted up. And then go ahead and work your way across. Underneath that panel, you're going to see two Phillips head screws. Go ahead and remove both of those. So now we're going to have to remove the e-brake boot here, and what I'm going to do is actually grab underneath the dash here. You're going to feel the plastic that the e-brake boot is attached to, and we're going to go ahead and just pull up on that, and it's going to kind of pop out of here. Okay, now we're just going to ride that up along our e-brake and pull it off. Now we're going to go ahead and remove our shift knob. Now I will say our shift knob here is a little interesting. So we lost our retainer ring. When you go to pull your shift knob off, your spring is actually going to be down like this, and there's going to be a little retainer clip on there. After you have your shift knob off, we can go ahead and lift up on this shifter trim. I'm going to start in this corner where the e-brake boot connected and work my way around just using my hands here. Okay. Once that's removed, you're going to see two Phillips head screws down here. We're going to go ahead and remove both of those. So with both those Phillips screws removed, we can go ahead and lift up on our center console, and it should come unclipped from the front here. And we can pull back on that. Now we can go ahead and grab onto our shifter boot and pull that off of the shifter. Just under the shifter, you're going to see two more Phillips head screws. Go ahead and remove those. Now we can go ahead and pull this apart. Okay, move that out of the way. Now you're going to see two plastic retainer nuts holding this boot in. Just go ahead and push down on the boot. You can actually unscrew these with your finger. So now go ahead and lift up on your rubber boot and pull it out of the vehicle. Now here you're going to see some 10mm bolts. Go ahead and pull those out. Now we're going to see these four black 12mm bolts around the corner. We're going to go ahead and remove those as well. Now we're going to see a little plastic clip over here holding this wire harness to this metal bracket. Go ahead and pop that off. And after we have that popped off, we can go ahead and remove this from the vehicle. Just be careful not to yank up on it and scratch anything. So now hopefully you guys can see this right above your factory resonator on your factory overpipe, and above your drive shaft you're going to see your shifter right there. That little black rubber boot, we're going to go ahead and pull that off. I'm going to go ahead and essentially lift up on the boot and then stick my flat head under it and use that to kind of pry it off. Okay guys, so I'm actually back inside the car now. I don't know if you can see me up here, but I'm back inside working with the shifter. So the main reason that I went under the vehicle is because it's easier to take that boot off of the shifter when you're underneath the car. However, the rest of this can be done in the car quite a bit easier than trying to do it under the car. So we're gonna go ahead and remove our spring clip here with our spring clip pliers. Go ahead and get that out of there. Then we're gonna go and use a flathead or something to basically get this washer off. Now pry that washer away. And now we're gonna push this shifter linkage through the shifter and then kind of grab it on the other side and push it out. Now we're gonna lift the shifter out of the car. So now we can go ahead and pull on our shifter and wiggle it up and out of there. All right, so now we have the OEM shifter next to the BilletWorkz shifter. We're gonna put the BilletWorkz one aside for now, and we have our stock shifter here. So as I did say earlier, we are missing our snap ring for the reverse lockout. So it's gonna be the exact same as basically the one that was on the shifter linkage. So we're gonna take our snap ring pliers, spread that ring apart, pull it off out, and then we're gonna have this spring. Just be careful because this is how we lost ours. That spring can go shooting out and go flying. So carefully pull that out. Slide your reverse lockout off. Take this metal plate off. And now we can take this plastic off. And the reason I'm wearing gloves is because there's white lithium grease all over this thing from factory, and it's really messy. Now we're gonna go ahead and pull the boot off. Okay, our factory shifter is disassembled. So all we're gonna need from our factory shifter is this plastic ring, both of your boots, and this metal plate. Set them aside, grab your BilletWorkz shifter. So now we're gonna grab an Allen key. I'm using a 3/32 Allen key here. We're gonna go ahead and loosen up both of these screws on the side of the reverse lockout. Pull that reverse lockout off. Then I'm using a 7/64 Allen key, and I'm gonna loosen up the bottom half here. Take that set screw out and then let this kind of slide back. Relieve some of the pressure on that spring. Then we are going to take our snap ring pliers and remove this snap ring. Remove this washer and the spring. And now we can slide this off. And like the factory shifter, we want to make sure this has adequate lubrication, so we're going to put some white lithium grease on this ball. You don't have to go too crazy. Just put a decent amount on there. Then we're going to take our plastic ring and slide that over and clip it on. And just put it on the shaft of the shifter here. Just kind of spread that around. We can take this metal plate and sit it back down. We'll take our reverse lockout bottom section and slide that down. Make sure that the extrusion here that's coming out is pointing towards the same direction as the extrusion on this bottom piece of the shifter. Go ahead and slide your spring back down on, slide your washer back down on, and then last but not least, we'll put the snap ring back on. Now we can slide this bottom portion up and get it lined back up with a hole and put the set screw back in. Just get it snug, you don't have to go too crazy with it. Then we'll get the top half of our reverse lockout and slide that down, line that up, and put our set screws back in for that as well. Now if you have any excess grease on your shifter, go ahead and just wipe that off. Actually, one last thing that I almost forgot, we have to take these plastic washer retainers out of the factory shifter. So go ahead and use a flathead or some kind of tool to push these out. And now we can reinstall them into the BilletWorkz shifter. Now we can put our boot back on and install it into the car. Okay. All right, guys, so before I go ahead and put the shifter back together, a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, we're gonna have to reinstall this boot, obviously, so just be careful of that. And we're gonna kind of have to plunge it down through that hole. And number two being that the extrusion here on the reverse lockout is going to go facing towards the steering wheel. So it's gonna go oriented this way with the extrusion coming out this direction. Then your lockout plate is going to go the exact same direction. So you wanna make sure that it's not lined up like this. You want to have it lined up like this. And then the extrusion on the shifter is going to come out facing that block off plate. So at this point in the reinstallation, you can actually adjust your factory shifter stop, so you can basically move it over, you know, and get a little bit more wiggle room between first and second, or you can move it tight up against and make it feel a little bit more gated. We're gonna try and keep it a little bit away from first gear. That way we have a little bit of wiggle room here and it's more like OEM fitment. Before we go any further, just go ahead and make sure that you can get the car into first and second, and make sure you can still get it into reverse. So in this case, pull up on the reverse lockout, bring it over and go into reverse. All right, guys, that is install complete. Well, guys, the BilletWorkz short shifter is installed. I'll leave a link to that in the description of the video so you can pick one up for yourself if you are interested. It really improved the shifting capabilities of the 22 BRZ. And the nice thing about BilletWorkz is that it's available in different colors. But we do carry them here at Import Image Racing. And again, I'll leave a link in the description so you can get one for yourself as well. Thank you guys for checking out today's video, and we'll see you in the next one.